the Azure Traffic Manager. So we'll understand why it is required and we'll understand the case study. Okay. So if you remember, like we have discussed a DR concept, right? We have discussed Azure Site Recovery. So this is my Azure East US and this is my Azure West US. West US. Okay. So my business requirement is a DR. I wanted to configure the DR between two locations. Okay, between West US and Azure East US. So like people are using a Azure Traffic Manager between two infrastructures. So this is my Azure Traffic Manager. Azure Traffic Manager, and where we can manage the load between two infrastructures. Okay, so let's take a scenario. I have a primary infrastructure built up into the Azure East US, and I have secondary infrastructure which is configured into the West US. So this is my DR site. This is my DR location, and web application is running into the West US. So we can use the Azure Traffic Manager to segregate the load between two infrastructure. Again, it completely depends on which profile you are using, which policy you are using. So Microsoft is offering a multiple policies. You can configure your workload on a geographical based policy. You can configure your profile with the load based policy. You can configure your profile with the priority based policy. So you need to configure the required policy and then you will get the expected result. So we are going to focus here two policies, geographical policy, and we are going to focus on a priority based policy. So by using the priority based policy, we can achieve a primary secondary concept. Once my primary infrastructure goes down, all the network will route into the secondary. Once primary is back, then all the request is getting forwarded to your primary infrastructure. Then geographical policy you can compare with your Amazon website. Okay, so when you hit on your Amazon website from India, your request is getting forwarded to only India server. And when you hit on your Amazon website from the US location, your request is getting forwarded to the US server only. So how it is possible? So this is the possible by using the geographical based policy. So if my source is from India, my request is getting forwarded to particular endpoint. If my source is from US, that particular request is getting forwarded to the different region or different server. So Azure Traffic Manager is a service which Microsoft is offering where region is not required. So Azure Traffic Manager is the global service, we can say, where a region is not required at all. Just we need to provide a resource group and location is not required. So this is a global service like your Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory will be the global service. With the same way, Azure Traffic Manager also the global service. So when you compare Azure Traffic Manager with the load balancer, so load balancer will be the responsible within the Azure location. If you ask me, like you have load balancer and you wanted to balance the load with the between two virtual machine and one virtual machine is deployed under the East US, second virtual machine is deployed under the West US. Is it possible or not? No, it is not possible because load balancer is supported within a data center only, not out of data center. Azure Traffic Manager is supported with the multiple data center. You can have one your physical data center as well. Okay, you can have one physical data center and Azure cloud. You can balance the load by using the Azure Traffic Manager. So any question till any doubt till Pallavi, any question, any doubt till?
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, how the traffic is routed? Like, what is the mapping algorithm or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. Traffic is routed via name only, because when you deploy the Azure Traffic Manager, Microsoft is offering the FQDN. Okay, when you compare with the load balancer, when we deploy the load balancer, you will get the one public IP, right? So the traffic routing or mapping happen via your name, and that name can be converted with your custom domain name
Mm-hmm.
by adding a multiple records like a record or cname record under your custom domain.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the lab and then you will get the understanding. So what we are going to do now, we are going to deploy two virtual machines. So this is first infrastructure and this is the second infrastructure. So in first infrastructure, I'm going to deploy virtual machine. Means this is my Microsoft Azure Central India. Second infrastructure we are going to deploy, let's see, East US. Okay. So I'm going to deploy virtual machine here. I'm going to deploy virtual machine here. Okay. And then we are going to deploy one traffic manager. And we'll connect both machines under the traffic manager. Okay. So both virtual machine will act as an endpoint. Okay. So this is the virtual machine. This is the virtual machine. Okay. And now we are going to configure the policies or required profile in terms of Microsoft profiles. We need to configure the required policy. This is your Azure. Okay. And then you can have a required profile and you can use your infrastructure. So first we are going to focus on geographical based policy. So what I wanted to do here, my requirement is here is like we have few users which is based on India. We have few users based on India. We have few users based on US. So if your India users are hitting on that particular website or that particular application, your traffic should forward to your India server. Traffic should forward here. If your users are hitting from US, your traffic should forward to US server. US server. So this is the first scenario we are going to discuss. In second scenario, we will change the profile. So geography based profile we will convert into the priority base, and we will configure India will be the first priority and US will be the second priority. If your India data center goes down, then all the requests should get forwarded to your US data center. So two scenarios we are going to discuss. Any question till Vishaka? Any question?
Yogesh, this is Pallavi. I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yes, please.
Uh, is it possible to have two profiles working at the same time on a?
No, no,
Okay,
no, no,
okay,
no. That's why you need to decide it. Okay, which profile you wanted to use.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's create a two resource groups. Okay, so let's create a resource group in Central India. So this is my second resource group, which is in East US. Okay, now we have two resource groups, Central India and East US. So now I'm going to deploy one virtual machine in India region. So resource group is Central India. Central India, Windows 2K12 B2S, admin 100, password. Okay, and also I'm going to enable here HTTP because I'm going to deploy one website. Okay, that's why I'm going to open here HTTP as well. So normal disks, default networking. We are not going to define any networking. And let's review and create it. Okay, and let's deploy one more virtual machine with the East US. Virtual machine. Standard SSD, default networking. I need a HTTP as well. Let's review and create. See, this is the cost difference. When we deploy the infrastructure in US region, which is cheaper compared to in India region. Okay. Okay, so let's deploy one more service, which is traffic manager. Traffic manager profiles, and let's create a traffic manager. See, you need to provide here some unique name, and then Microsoft will offer here trafficmanager.net. So .trafficmanager.net will be the domain name. Okay, so let's see my app 2000. So, so the name should be unique. And now Microsoft will offer here my app 2000.trafficmanager.net. So this is the routing method as we discussed, right? So Microsoft is offering the multiple routing methods, performance based, weightage based. You can segregate your load with the weightage base. So you can put the 50% traffic should be routed into the India, or 50% traffic should be routed into the US region. You can use the weightage base. You can put the priority base as well. First priority, second priority, third priority. Then you can have a geographical based policy as well. Okay, if you wanted to restrict the traffic from that particular geography. So we are going to use for geographical based policy, and then we will convert into the priority based policy. Okay, resource group, as we discussed, Microsoft is asking the resource group. You can use any resource group. So I'm going to use East US as a resource group, and there is no option to select the location because Azure Traffic Manager doesn't require any location, and we can see as well. Okay, so let's create. We have selected here East US as a resource group, right? Let's create it. Okay, deployment succeeded. Okay, so let's go into the resource group which we have created. So we have deployed a traffic manager under the East US resource group, right? So refresh here. See, this is the traffic manager object, and traffic manager object location is showing global. So why it is global? Because traffic manager doesn't require any location. This is a global service. So if anything goes wrong with your US data center, if anything goes wrong with your India data center, it will not impact on your traffic manager object because this is a global object. Okay, so you can see here my virtual machine is running under the East US, but my traffic manager is running at a global level, which is my top level. Okay, so let's connect to the virtual machine and configure the IaaS. So this is my India machine. Let's take up RDP of your US server as well. Okay, so this is the US server, in India server. So when you compare with the on-premises, into the on-premises, people are using a third-party load balancer like F5 or Citrix load balancer. So that particular feature you can have with your third-party load balancer as well. But in Microsoft scenario, Microsoft is not offering those profiles or that particular options into the Azure load balancer, because Azure load balancer is giving only the round robin based policy, right? You can use the third party load balancers as well instead of Microsoft load balancer. So this is India server and this is your US server. So let's go into the default web page. Uh, this is a default web page, right? So this is the India server, right? And we can configure here India server. Now we have one more server. Let's go into the default web page. Okay, so East US, and now we'll configure the traffic manager. So before that, we should have a complete detail of that particular data center. So let's go into the tech node, Azure locations. Azure location list. Okay. Okay, so I have created the virtual machine in central India and my actual location is Pune, and my another virtual machine with the US region, right? United States under East US, right? So this is the actual data center. Okay, this is the actual physical data center, and that particular information we need to provide under the load balancer. So go to the load balance, go to the traffic manager. This is the traffic manager, and this is our this is the link. Okay, and we need to configure the endpoints now. So under the overview tab, we can see the current profile which we are using. So routing method we are using as a geography, right? So go to the endpoint and configure the endpoints. So we have two servers, right? We have US server. This is the public IP. This is the public IP. India. This is the public IP. This is the public IP. So let's configure the US server first, or we can configure the India server first. So go to the traffic manager, external endpoint, because we are using a public IPs. So India server. This is the public IP, and now we need to provide a complete details. Regional grouping, country, and actual data center location. So it comes under Pacific. Let me check. Let's select here Asia, then India, and there is no option to select the city. Okay, but when you configure the second server, okay, we need to configure the state as well. Okay, so this is the first server, and that first server tagged with the India location. Add. Then let's go into the second server, external endpoint. US server, and this is the public IP. United Central America, United States, and what is the current location? Virginia. Okay, so we need to configure here the particular state. Okay, so this is a region, this is a country, and this is a actual state where that your East US data center is located. Say add. Okay, now can you please try to hit on that particular site from your laptop or desktop? Please try to hit that particular website and let me know the result.
I got India server.
You got the India server. Okay.
Yes.
So every time you will get the India server only, because
Yes.
Because we have configured the geographical based policy. So when you hit on that particular link, that particular link means your traffic manager will sense the source of your traffic, and your
Right.
source, your source is India, right? And that's
Right.
why your traffic is getting forwarded to the India server only. Okay, let me try from my side. Okay, you'll get the India only. So if we use a same link into the India server, so this is the India server, right? And let me disable the I security policy. Okay, and let's try to hit on same website. Same website. See, I'm getting the India only. But if I hit a same link from the US server, because this is a US machine and which is located into the US data center. Okay, so let's disable the iSecurity. See, now I'm getting US server because my request is getting generated from the US only. That's why that particular request is getting forwarded to the US server. Okay, but when you hit from the India, every time you will get the India server only. The same concept your Amazon is also using. When you hit to your Amazon website from India, you will get the means your request is getting forwarded to the India server. If you are hitting from the US, then your request is getting forwarded to the US server. Any question till, any doubt till? Any doubt, any question?
No, Yogesh.
Okay. Vishnu, any question? Samir, any question? Okay, so let's go into the second policy, and that policy we are going to change. Let's go into the configuration part, and from the configuration I'm going to change as a priority based policy. Okay, save. And then Microsoft is giving that option to configure the priority. Okay, so let's go into the overview. Into overview, we can see the policy, the routing method we have changed from geography to priority, and India server is taking as a first priority, and second, your East US is taking as a second priority, right? So we can change the priority as well. You can click here and you can change the priority. Okay, so let's try to hit on same website. Okay, Control C, and now I'm going to open the private browser and let's try. See, I'm getting the same website. Okay, so let's take a scenario. There is an issue with the physical data center and my server is not running. Okay, so currently my request is getting forwarded to the India server only. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shut down the India server. I'm going to shut down the India server, right click and shut down. Okay. And now it will redirect the traffic to the US server because we have changed the policy. Okay, priority based policy. So US will be the second priority. It will take 1 to 2 minutes to sense the traffic, and then your traffic is getting forwarded to the US server. So that particular page I'm getting from the cache only. Okay. Pallavi, can you please try from your end?
Yes, Yogesh, one second.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting page cannot display.
Okay, wait. You will get it. Okay. Just wait.
I think it's still applying changes. It's rotating
Yes.
at my end.
Yes.
Yogesh, is there a possibility to have more than one traffic manager in
Yes.
an environment?
Yes, we can have multiple traffic manager. But if you ask me, The single virtual machine can be a part of only the single traffic manager
Okay.
at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me refresh.
I got US server now.
Okay, you got your server. Let me try from the different browser.
Yeah, even I got US server.
Okay, see, my request is getting forwarded to US server because my first priority, which is India server, is not available. That's why. So let's power on the India server now. Let's refresh, stop, and let's start the server. Okay, so can you please hit on same website? Now it should show India. See, now it is showing India. Is redirecting to the India server.
Oh, I am getting still US server.
Okay, okay. Let's try from the other browser because you're getting that web page from your local caching only.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got India server.
Yes, yes. Okay, so this is the use case. Okay, you can use into the production and you can uh, divert the traffic as per your requirement. Okay, so let's understand the next point, next topic, which is encryption. So how we can use a key vault and how we can encrypt the disks. Azure Key Vault service. Okay, so Key Vault is a service which Microsoft is offering where we can configure our secrets, where we can configure the certificates, and where we can configure the keys into that particular vault. So this is a vault. We can save the passwords, we can save the keys, we can save the certificates. And your virtual machine will connect to that particular key vault to get the password, to get the certificate, or to get the key. So as a use case, as a lab, what we are going to do now, we are going to use that particular service to encrypt the virtual machine disks. So when you deploy the virtual machine in Microsoft Azure, so by default, Microsoft is offering the platform-based encryption. Okay, so this is a PKS. Okay, so let's go into the virtual machine and let me demonstrate first. Go to the VM, go to the disk option. What is the encryption level you are using? PMK. Actually, this is the PMK. So PMK stands for Platform Managed Key. So we'll understand what is Platform Managed Key. So when you deploy the virtual machine, your virtual machine is getting deployed on one of the physical box, right? So this is the physical box I'm talking. This is the physical server. And top of a physical server, Microsoft is using the hypervisor. Hypervisor is nothing but my Hyper-V. I'm talking especially Hyper-V. So this is the Hyper-V. Windows 2K19 or in some reason Microsoft is using 2K16 Hyper-V. Okay. So when you deploy a virtual machine, your virtual machine is getting deployed on one of the physical box. Okay. As a security, Microsoft is offering the PMK, Platform Managed Key. Means Microsoft has configured the security at the platform level. So the platform is very secure where you are deploying the virtual machine. So when you do the audit of your Azure infrastructure, so auditors are asking a security which we need to configure on virtual machine level. So when you say like you have configured the PMK or by default Microsoft is offering the PMK, so auditor will not accept that particular option. Auditor is required customer managed key. So there is a one more option you will get here. Let's go into the portal. You will get the one more option here, which is customer managed key, CMK, customer managed key. So when you configure the CMK or when you configure the customer managed key with the disk or with the virtual machine, means you are going to manage a security at a virtual machine level. Okay, and that particular key you are going to use from the key vault, Azure key vault. So this is the key vault service now. Azure key vault. Okay, so your virtual machine will demand the key to your key vault and key vault will provide the key, and by using that particular key you are going to encrypt your virtual machine disk file. Okay, so let's configure the key vault and we'll generate a one key, and that key we will configure with that particular virtual machine. So currently I do not have any encryption at the disk level. So let's go into the US server. Okay, so go to the my computer. Go to the PC here. Okay, so your C drive, your D drive, not configured with the encryption. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add one more disk. Okay, with the East US server, and we'll configure the encryption on both disks, like data disk and OS disk as well. So let's go into the US server. Go to the disk part. Add a data disk here. See, when you configure the disk, Microsoft is asking which option you wanted to use. Okay, platform managed key. So this is a default option, platform managed key. So let's go and create a disk with the platform managed key. Standard SSD with the 30 gig. and save. Virtual machine and add that particular disk into the virtual machine. To disk management. Disk management. Okay, right click and create a new disk here. Simple volume. Okay, now we have two disks. We have operating OS disk and we have data disk here. So we can write some data here. And we can copy the files as well. Okay, now, so let's go into the Azure portal and deploy the key vault. So this is a key vault. US region. Cloud Techno. East US standard. And I wanted to use a key vault for disk encryption, Azure disk encryption for volume. Then I wanted to use that option for the virtual machine deployment as well. You can integrate your templates as well. Okay. So public endpoint, let's create it. Let's create it. Okay, so let's go into the key vault which we have created, and now see there are three options. Keys you can configure, the secrets, you can configure the certificates. Okay, so now I'm going to configure here is a key. Generate a key. So I'm going to generate the key name. Let's see, server. So you can configure the activation date or expiration date as well if you require. Let's create it. See, this is the key which is generated by Microsoft here now. Okay, so let's go into the virtual machine where we wanted to configure the encryption. So go to virtual machine, East US, go to the disk option, go to the data disk, go to the encryption tab. Okay, see, currently it is showing encryption at rest with a platform managed key. Okay, what about the OS encryption? The same option. Okay, now let's go into the disk option and additional settings, and under additional settings there is option encryption setting, right? So Azure disk encryption provides volume encryption for the OS and data disk. So now Microsoft is asking on which disk you wanted to enable the encryption. So I wanted to enable the encryption on OS and data disk here. So select the key. So this is the key vault which we have created. This is the key. Okay, and let's select it and save. So during the virtual machine deployment, also you can use those options and you can encrypt your virtual machine during the VM deployment also. Okay, so during the encryption configuration, we need a downtime. Your virtual machine is rebooted now, and then we need to take the RDP of the virtual machine. So let's go here. US server. See, encryption. Okay, so let me check which option we have selected. It should do the encryption on data disk as well. Let me check. Disk option, additional settings, OS, and okay, it will take some time to start the encryption on data disk. Let's refresh here. Okay, so still it is in progress. So the encryption you can manage by using the key vault. Okay, so Azure is managing that particular key vault, and into key vault you are going to configure the keys, and those keys are getting mapped to your virtual machine. So any question till, any doubt till?
So, Yogesh, this
Yeah.
encryption was from, I mean, Azure, Microsoft itself. Is there a
Yes.
way we can
Mhm.
have a third-party encryption tool enabled
Yes,
into
we can
this?
use it. Yes, yes, we can use a third-party tool as well. Like we can use a semantic tool to
Okay.
encrypt your disks. Yeah, yeah. But what you need to do, you need to cross-check with Microsoft Azure once, because I believe if you use a third-party encryption, that third-party encryption is not supported for the DR. When you
Okay.
configure the DR, let's see your infrastructure is running into the East US and you configure the DR into the West US.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to check that compatibility with Microsoft first. Okay.
Okay.
And then you can use the third party tool.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let me remove the traffic manager at all not required here. So I'm going to delete it. Okay. So what we'll do, we will take a break. Okay. 15-minute break, and then we will cover pending topics. Okay. Then first we'll try to cover file sync service. Then we'll cover web app and monitor service. It will not take more time because it's all the small services. And next week we will try to complete all the pending topics. Okay. And today, if we get time today, then we will discuss on interview topics, interview part and CV part as well. Like how we can prepare for the CV and how we can prepare for the interview as well. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll back in 15 minutes.
All right.
Okay, let's start. Let me share the screen. Okay, so we have discussed Azure Traffic Manager, we have discussed Key Vault service as well, and now we are going to focus on Azure File Sync service. So this is the service Azure File Sync, where we can sync on-prem file server to Azure. Okay, so this is a real-time synchronization. When you save the file, okay, the same file is getting synchronized with the Azure infrastructure. So let's understand the scenario or case study. This is my on-premises data center, and this is my Microsoft Azure. So into on-premises data center, we have file server. This is the file server. File server we have. And my requirement here is I wanted to synchronize that file server into the Microsoft Cloud. So Microsoft is offering here Azure File Sync service. So this is the service. Azure File Sync. And your file sync service is getting connected with the Azure storage account. Because we need a storage, right, to save the files, to keep the files. Azure storage. Okay. So your files, Azure File Sync service is getting integrated with the Azure storage account, and under the Azure storage account, we need a Azure file storage. Okay, now how it works. So when we deploy Azure File Sync service on Microsoft Azure, Microsoft is asking to deploy one agent on your on-prem server. So this is the agent, and that agent will communicate with your Azure File Sync service. So by using that agent, your on-prem data. So let's take a scenario. You have multiple disks attached to that particular server. So you have C drive, which is your OS disk, which is your D drive, which is your E drive, which is your F drive. Okay, so you have multiple disks, and those disks attached with that particular server with the data. Let's see, you have data. You have data here. Okay, and that particular agent is the responsible to communicate with the data on. It will synchronize with the Azure File Sync service. So actual your data is getting synchronized on storage, okay, by using that particular service. So this is a real-time synchronization. So any question till, any doubt till? Vishnu, any question till, any doubt till? Pallavi, any question?
So योगेश आई थिंक इस सिनेरियो में एक सिंक ग्रुप वगैरह भी कुछ बनाते हैं ना?
Yes,
I'm
yes,
not
yes, 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 yes. Sync group बनाना पड़ता है. Yes.
okay. So that will be between
Between on-prem and your file storage.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so let's use the same server. So I'm going to use the US server only. Azure and deploy the Azure file sync. So this is a option, and the service we need to purchase from the marketplace. Okay, Azure file sync. Resource group is East US. See, file sync 1, and the service I'm going to deploy under the East US. Okay, what is the issue? Let me check. Okay, let me try one more time. I believe there is an issue with the subscription. The subscription is not supported at service. Okay, let me check. Azure file sync. So East US. File sync 1. Okay, so we have deployed the service and now let's go into the Azure file sync service and go to the registration of the server. So first we need to register the server. Okay, so Microsoft is asking to download a Azure file sync agent and install on the servers which you wanted to sync up. So let's copy that particular path. Okay, copy that particular link location, and let's download that agent on your server which you wanted to synchronize. Let's download it. So this is the Windows 2K12 R2, Windows Server 2K12 R2 MSI. Next. Save. So this is the default path. You can configure the proxy if you have, but currently we do not have any proxy. But into the industry, you will get the proxy. Then you need to configure the proxy server, proxy port, user ID and password. And install it. Okay, so we have deployed agent on the server, and that agent needs to be configured now. Okay, so Azure file sync agent on this server is up to date. Say OK. And now Microsoft is asking to configure the agent. So now here we are using Azure cloud. Okay, we are not using China cloud, we are not using US government, or we are not using any German cloud. Okay, we are using here Azure cloud. Sign in. So select the subscription. So we are using Visual Studio Enterprise subscription here. This is the resource group where we have deployed Azure Sync service, which is DCEUS. And this is the sync service which we have configured, file sync 1, and say register. So what we'll do meanwhile, we'll create our storage account. Okay, because storage account is required here. So go to the storage account, add new storage account. Version 1. See, with the LRS, public will work. Let's create it. Okay, so once you deploy the storage account, let's create a one file share, because as per diagram, your file share is getting integrated with the Azure Sync service. So let's create a file share, share 1, say with 50 GB. Okay, so let's go into the server. Okay, my server is showing registration is successful, and now we can see the registered server under the file sync service. So let's refresh here. See, this is the registered server. Okay, EUS-server. So what we'll do, we'll create a one directory. Okay, or the data directory is already created. Okay, data directory is already created. So my requirement here is I wanted to synchronize that particular directory into the Microsoft Azure. So let's go into the sync group. Create a sync group. Group 1 subscription. This is the storage account is asking. So I wanted to use a cloud techno storage, and under that storage, this is the share one we have created. Let's create it. Okay, once you create a sync group, let's select the sync group. And let's create a endpoint, cloud endpoint. Let's refresh here once. Cloud endpoint is already created. We need a server endpoint. Okay, see, cloud endpoint already we have created. We need to create a server endpoint. So this is my register server. So from that server, I wanted to sync up which directory? Data directory. Let's copy the path. Here. Let's create it. Okay, now it is showing provisioning. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so we can cross check the data into the storage account. So this is my storage account which we have created, and under the storage account we have created one file share. See, this is the data, and the data is getting synchronized from my server. So if you copy or if you need data here, let's take a scenario. We'll copy all the notepad files to the server. Means you have updated some data into the server. So the same data is getting synchronized with the storage account as well. See. So means you are maintaining the one more copy into the Microsoft Azure. Okay. With the unlimited storage. So any question till, any doubt till? Vishnu, any question? Pallavi, any question till?
No,
Vishakha,
Yogesh.
any question? Samir, any question? Samir?
No, Yogesh. Good, so far.
Yeah, but you got the idea, right? What is
Yes,
the requirement here? Okay, and how we can protect the on-premises file server with the Microsoft Azure service. Atul, any question till? Okay, so let's go with the next option. Let me demonstrate how we can delete the service, because if you wanted to delete the service, you need to delete all the groups step by step. Okay, so first you need to delete the server endpoint. Delete it. So this is the name of the server. Once you delete the server endpoint, then you need to delete the cloud endpoint. Okay, so we have deleted the server endpoint, and then we can delete the cloud endpoint. Delete cloud endpoint. Then we need to delete the group. Then we need to unregister the server, and then we can delete the particular service. Delete the group. Go to the register servers. We need to unregister it. Unregister. and then we can go ahead and we can directly delete the service. Okay, so let's understand how we can configure the alerting system on the virtual machine level. Okay, we will use a Azure monitor service to configure the alerts. So before that, we'll understand the hierarchy. So if you remember, initially we have discussed some structure, right? When we create an account. So this is my Azure account. Cloud Techno. Pune @outlook.com. Then under that, Microsoft has created Azure Active Directory. Azure AD. Under Azure Active Directory, we have created a subscription. Under subscription, we have created a multiple resource group. So we have resource group 1, resource group 2, RG1, RG2, RG3. So we have the multiple resource group. I have created resource group for Windows machine. Windows VM. The resource group for Linux VM. And you have created a resource group for, let's take an example, your application A. Okay. And under that resource group, you have created the resources, means you have deployed the virtual machine. You have deployed a multiple virtual machines under the Windows VM. You have created the multiple VM from the, under Linux resource group, and you have created multiple virtual machine under the your application A virtual machine resource group. So your requirement here is you wanted to configure the alerts. So if you wanted to configure the alert on CPU, disk, the requirement. Okay. So as per best practices, your alerting needs to be configured on resource group level. Okay. Why? What is the reason? So let's take a scenario. My Windows team is asking to configure the alerts with the specific parameter. Linux team is also asking to configure the parameters with the specific parameters, right? Let's see, Linux team is saying my CPU needs to be configured with. So Windows team is saying here CPU alerting needs to be configured with 75 and 90. But Linux team is saying for Linux servers, there's a different counts. Okay, CPU needs to be configured on 60 minimum and maximum will be the 75. Right. Your memory also same 75. And 90. Okay. So in Linux, again same thing, needs to be configured for the memory as well. So when you configure the alerting system on subscription level, it will inherit it to all the resource group which you have created under that particular subscription. Okay. So when you apply the rule on subscription level, that particular rule will be applicable for all the virtual machine. It can be a Windows or it can be Linux. So if you wanted to segregate the alerting, okay, as per the requirement, then you need to configure the alerts on either virtual machine level or particular resource group level. So when you configure the alert on resource group level, so those particular alerts will get inherited with only the virtual machines which is created under that resource group. Any question till? So this is the resource group, and you are going to configure the alerts on resource group level which will applicable to all the virtual machine which is present under that particular resource group. So any question till? Any doubt till?
No.
No, Yogesh.
Okay, so let's go into the portal. So now here we are going to focus on Azure Monitor Service. Azure Monitor Service. Okay, so let's go into the portal. Go to the. So again, there are multiple ways to configure it. Directly, we can go into the monitor service. See, this is the monitor service, and we can configure the alerts and go to the virtual machine. Now we have virtual machine, right, which is in running state. Okay, scroll down here. Go to the monitoring tab. Go to here and we can create the alerts. See, add metric. Just okay, there is option to create an alert. Let me refresh this. So this is the option. Go to server, go to perform monitoring tab, select any parameter here, and there is option new alert rule. Okay. So when you click here, Microsoft is asking on which level you wanted to configure the alert. Now we are going to configure the alert on virtual machine level. Okay. So this is the virtual machine. You can edit the resource as we discussed, and let's delete it. Add the condition. So I wanted to configure the alert on CPU, right? First. So let's see. Select search here CPU. So percentage CPU. Okay. So greater than or equal to average, let's see, 75%. Okay. So if your server is consuming your CPU with the 75% with the 5 minute, then it will generate the alert. Okay. Then we have configured the action. We have configured the condition. Then we need to configure the action. So under the action, we can generate the email. Okay, and that email needs to be forwarded to the particular DL, right? So action group 1 notification. So email, SMS or push or voice. So you can configure the required parameter here. So I'm going to configure the email. I'm going to configure the SMS as well. So country code will be the 91. This is number. And email will be. And let's say okay here. You can have a multiple actions as well here. Notification. Okay. You can configure action as well. Let's take a scenario. You wanted to reboot your virtual machine. If your virtual machine is utilizing the 75% memory or CPU and you wanted to reboot it. So you can define the automation runbook, and under the automation runbook, you can write the script. So at that time only that particular script will get initiated. Okay. So we are not going to configure any action here. We have configured the notification. So action not required. Review and create. Notification. Okay, now we have created the action as well here, no, with the notification, and now we need to set the alert. One, okay, for US server alert, and now you need to define the severity as per your requirement. Let's see, I'm going to define here severity 2. Enable the alert rule upon creation. Okay, so we are going to enable it, and let's create a rule. Okay, so it will take 10 minutes to activate it, and after that what we will do, we will run one batch file here, and we'll try to consume the CPU from that particular virtual machine. So what is the current utilization, CPU utilization of the server? So currently 12 or up to 15% is the utilization. Okay, so we'll use one batch file, okay, to increase the CPU load. So but we need to wait 10 minutes. After 10 minutes it will enable the alert which we have created. So any question till any doubt, with the same way you can create alerts for disk, memory as well. And this is the paid $0.10 per alert. Okay, we need to pay. See, CPU, memory, disk, you will get here disk as well. Network in and out. Okay, I'm not sure why it is not showing memory. Okay, we should see here memory as well. We have disk. Okay, then CPU, bandwidth, IOPS as well we can configure. I'm not sure why memory is not showing, but we should get memory as well here. Okay. So this is the way where we can configure the alerts, and those alerts we can see into the Azure Monitor service directly here as well. So this is the Azure Monitor service. See, when you configure the alerts from the monitor service, Microsoft is asking the scope on which level you wanted to configure it. If you wanted to configure on resource group level, okay, or you wanted to configure on virtual machine level as well. So those options you need to select it. So alerts we can see, let me check the options. Alerts. Okay, so those alerts we can see here. Okay, it will take some time to replicate here. See, this is the alert which we have configured. Okay, so we need to go into the monitor service alerts option, and there is a tab manage alert rules, and all the rules we can see in a single page only, which we have created on virtual machine level or subscription level or resource group level. Any question till, any doubt till?
So Yogesh, आपने अभी जो बताया that is
हाँ,
on virtual machine level alert
right,
creation,
right.
and Azure monitor service में जाके we can configure it for the whole resource group. Is that right?
नो, रिसोर्स ग्रुप के लेवल पे भी आप कॉन्फ़िगर कर सकते बाय यूजिंग द ऑप्शंस व्हिच वी हैव डिस्कस. जस्ट यू नीड टू चेंज द स्कोप. ओके, लेट मी शो यू.
हाँ, वो जो मॉनिटर सर्विस में स्कोप डिफाइन किया था वहां से, राइट?
हाँ, ये देखो, जस्ट एक मिनट. जो हमने वर्चुअल मशीन पे जाके जो हमने अलर्ट कॉन्फ़िगर किया है. ओके, लेट्स क्रिएट अ वन मोर अलर्ट. ओके, बट स्कोप नीड्स टू बी चेंज. गो टू ओवरव्यू. लेट्स क्रिएट अ रूल हियर. ये जो स्कोप है ना, ये स्कोप आपको ये जो वर्चुअल मशीन है ना, आपको यहाँ पे रिसोर्स ग्रुप सेलेक्ट करना है. ओके, मीन्स क्या होगा कि ये रिसोर्स ग्रुप के अंडर जितने भी मशीन्स रहेंगे वो सारे मशीन्स को ये पर्टिकुलर रूल अप्लीकेबल रहेगा. आपको अगर सब्सक्रिप्शन लेवल पे करना है कि आपका एक कॉमन पैरामीटर डिसाइड हुआ है कि विंडोज को भी सेम पैरामीटर चाहिए और लिनक्स वीएम को भी सेम पैरामीटर चाहिए, देन नो नीड टू कॉन्फ़िगर ऑन resource group, RG level, then you need to configure on subscription level.
Yes.
Okay, so let me copy the batch file. So I have one batch file where we can increase the CPU load. Okay, CPU test. So it's very simple batch file. Let me edit it. See, only 3 parameter we need to define it. Okay, only 3 parameter. So what is the current utilization of the server? And let's run the script. Run as administrator. Right click, run as administrator. Right click and run as administrator. See, now current utilization is 99%. Okay, okay, so after 5 to 7 minutes, okay, Microsoft will generate the one email alert. Okay, just a minute. Okay, let's understand the web app service meanwhile, and then we'll discuss on CV part and interview preparation part as well. So let's go into the web app. Okay, now there is a one more service which Microsoft is offering, and that particular service is nothing but your Azure web app. Azure web app. So Azure web app is a serverless website we can deploy. Serverless website or web application. Serverless website or serverless web application we can deploy by using the web app. Now, what is the way to deploy the website? Let's take a scenario. My client is asking, okay, to deploy one website. What you will do with the traditional way? You will deploy one server, right? Either Windows or Linux. Then top up of that, you will let's take an example of Windows only. This is a Windows VM. Windows VM. And top up of Windows, you are going to deploy IIS. Okay. And top up of IIS, you are going to develop your website. So this is your website now. This is your website. So again, when you deploy the website or when you design the website, you would require some database. Okay, because there are two type of websites, right? Dynamic and static. When you say dynamic means your contents are getting changed on daily basis. Static is nothing but your contents are not going to change. Okay, so when you deploy your website with the dynamic, you'd require a database as well. So you can have a database on same machine, or you can deploy one more virtual machine, and that particular virtual machine will act as a database server. So this is my database server. And there is a connectivity between your web server and database server as per the requirement. And you can run your website on that particular infrastructure. So what is the challenge here? You're going to manage Windows, you're going to manage database, you're going to manage IIS, and again you're going to manage the performance of the infrastructure, and again you're going to monitor your infrastructure. But what Microsoft is saying, instead of that, we can deploy the Microsoft web app, which comes under platform as a service, where the complete platform managed by Microsoft. So this is a platform. This is a platform managed by Microsoft. If you want to deploy your website on Apache Tomcat, you can deploy. If you wanted to deploy your website on IIS, you can deploy. So when you select the option Apache Tomcat, automatically Microsoft is using. When you select IIS, automatically required options Microsoft will select in the backend. So when you deploy the web app, so this is a web app. When you deploy web app, so you are not going to deploy any Windows machine. You are not going to deploy any Linux machine. Microsoft is going to deploy your website on the infrastructure, and that particular infrastructure is Microsoft is managing it. Okay, so we are not going to manage database. We are not going to manage Windows machine or Linux machine operating system. Also, we are not going to monitor it. Everything managed by Microsoft. Just we are going to manage our code. That's it. We are going to manage our website code. Okay, you need to upload the code on your FTP. Once you spin up the web app, you will get the one FTP site, and on that FTP site, you need to publish your code. You need to publish your website, and then that particular websites can be accessible via globally. So let's define, or let's deploy the web app. app services. See, again, Microsoft is offering unique name .azure website .net. Let's see, cloud techno .azure websites .net. Okay. Now Microsoft is asking, do you want to deploy a code or you wanted to run your code on Docker? So I wanted to deploy the code and I wanted to use here, let's see, .NET base, Linux or Windows. Okay, when you select here Linux, in the backend, your infrastructure is getting deployed on Apache Tomcat. When you select here Windows, then Microsoft will use IIS in the backend. So plan is very important. Okay, plan you can compare with your mobile postpaid plan. Okay, let's go into the plan. So Microsoft is offering multiple options here: development and test, production, and isolated infrastructure. So let's go into the development and test. Under development, Microsoft is offering two options, F1 and B1. So F1 is providing here only 1 GB disk space. So means if you are deploying a website as a testing purpose, okay, so you can use that particular plan where you will get the limited option, okay, and Microsoft is giving only the 1 GB disk storage space. Memory you will get it here to spin up the your website. With the when you compare with the B1, again Microsoft is offering the multiple options under that particular plan. So into the first plan, Microsoft is offering only 1 GB, but into the second option, Microsoft is offering the 10 gig. Then you will get the memory, you will get the compute as well. Your website, your application, you can increase the 3 times if you are getting the more hits on your web application. And you can use a custom SSL certificate as well with the domain name as well with your website, because by default Microsoft is offering the default name, right? So that name can be a configure with the custom domain name and certificate as well. Let's go into the production plan. Under the production plan, again Microsoft is offering the multiple options. Let's see P1 V2. See, you can configure the custom domain name SSL. You can configure the backup. You can use the traffic manager as well. See, now into the last option, we have configured the virtual machine as an endpoint. Instead of virtual machine, you can configure your website as well. So let's take a scenario. You have two websites. One website is acting as a primary, second website is acting as a secondary. So traffic manager can be a configure with that particular web application. Storage 250 GB, memory Microsoft is offering. Again, Microsoft is providing the CPU as well. So as per your plan, okay, you will get the option. See, up to 20 slots you will get here, and 20 instances you can enhance your or you can increase your particular web app. Okay, see 250 GB, then additional pricing tier 50 GB. 250 GB. Then Microsoft is offering some isolated infrastructure as well. So under isolated infrastructure, you will get the more storage. Okay, to run your website. You can have your isolated network. Okay, you can increase your, you can enhance your website up to the 100 instances. Okay, you can use the traffic manager. So as per your requirement, you need to select the plan here. So let's go into the production for a testing purpose. I'm going to use S1. Under the S1, Microsoft is offering 50 GB disk space. Then I can use the custom domain, custom SSL certificate as well. Let's apply. Monitoring. Monitoring you can configure as per the requirement. And let's create it. Okay, so I have received email from the Microsoft and it is saying this is the severity 2 alert. Okay, let me log in into my email and I can show the alert as well. So this is the web app. Okay, okay, this is the web app, and now Microsoft is offering the particular site. So can you please try to hit on that website? Meanwhile, I will log in into my email. See, let's log in into that. Let's try to hit on that website. https://cloudtechno.azurewebsites.net.
Yes, Yogesh, that page is accessible.
So the page is accessible means you are getting the default web page, right? So this is the default web page. This is the default web page, right?
Yes.
So what Microsoft is asking here, Microsoft is asking to upload your website on FTP. Okay, so you need to configure the password. See, by default, Microsoft is offering the FTP here, but you need to configure the password. Okay, so how to configure the password? Let's go into the deployment center, and under deployment center there is option FTP. Okay, let me check. This is FTPS settings, deployment slots. Okay, so same, this is the same option, deployment center only. This is okay. So you need to configure the password here. Let me try one more time. Deployment slot, deployment center here. Now it is updating the password.
आइए ना बातें हाँ
Okay, so we have configured the password. Okay, let's go into the overview tab, and under the overview tab we will get all the details. So this is my username, FTP username. Okay, this is the FTP server. server, and this is the password. Okay. So what we need to do now, we need to upload our custom website under that particular path. Okay. So let's try to hit into the Explorer only. Now it is asking the ID, user ID. This is the user ID, and this is the password. Okay, let's try to upload your website. So I have one dummy website. Okay, www root, and let's paste the file. Okay, now can you please try to access that website, the same website? We should get the custom page. Okay, let me use the index.html only. Can you please try to hit on same website, cloudtechno.azurewebsites.net?
As of now, it's showing the default page only, Yogesh.
Okay. We should get a custom page only. Let me try to restart once again. Okay, let me try the same web page. Site www.root index.html. Okay, so this is the procedure. Okay, once we copy our custom website here, automatically it will get redirected to the index.html. I'm not sure why it is not redirecting here, but it should. Can you please try from your side one more time?
Yes, Yogesh, I'm trying, but it's showing the default page itself. I tried on a different browser as well. Uh,
Okay, so let's redeploy it. Okay, let me delete it and let me recreate it. Okay. Actually, Windows Central US. No, region will be the East US. Okay, and I'm selecting the S1 plan. Let's set up the password. Deployment slot, deployment center. FTP credentials, set up the credential. See. Okay. Okay, now this is the ID and this is the link. So let's close all the window. Try to ID is cloud techno 12/100 and this is the password. Let's log in. Let me copy the custom page. Okay, so let's try to access the default web page. So this is the page now. Can you please see? This is the page now we are getting. So what is the benefit? We are using here HTTPS. We are not using HTTP. So Pallavi, can you please try from your side? Let's try to hit on that website.
Hello, Yogesh. I'm getting that page.
Okay, okay. Means automatically your request is getting forwarded to your custom website. Okay. Now let me log in my email quickly and I will show you that alert, okay, which is generated. Okay. I have stopped the sharing. Let me log into my Gmail account first. So this is the alert, okay, which is generated by Microsoft, and Microsoft is showing percentage CPU, okay, and this is the threshold which we have configured, showing severity 2. Severity 2. Any question till? Any doubt till? Any question? Okay, so what I will do now, I will copy some interview question on your OneDrive directory. So you need to refer those questions and you need to, let me just show you the questions, which is Azure IMP and interview. Okay, so those questions I'm going to copy on the OneDrive. Okay, so those questions you need to refer. So let's take an example. Go to the Azure. Okay, so all the questions is related to your Azure infrastructure, and also you will get some scenario based questions as well. Okay, so you need to focus on scenario based questions. like I have one question set, okay, which is from Accenture, okay. So uptime of the single virtual machine, uptime of the virtual machine with the availability set. So what level of security you will apply to your Azure infrastructure. So you need to focus on such type of questions, okay, where you will get into the interview. Any question till, any doubt till?